Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Sports Card Advantage podcast. It is Saturday, May 7th, 2022 at 8:01 p.m. I am not joined by Bunk this week. I'm rolling completely solo. Unfortunately, Bunk likes his wife more than he likes me and you guys, so I am rolling solo, gonna do a solo episode. Haven't done one in a while. Thankfully, Bunk's been able to join us for all these episodes, but every now and again, family comes first, and I completely get it. So we're gonna do the best we can to give you a show tonight, and keep the streak going and not take any weeks off. Have some topics that I was gonna talk about with Bunk, but since he's not here, I'm gonna rant and rave all by myself and give you some information. Definitely a few things going on in the hobby this week. So we'll start off with the quote unquote trimming debacle. This week, Card Porn reported on eBay seller named Kong53. Supposedly they are calling them the biggest trimmer of cards in the industry. I suppose they've had multiple examples where their cards have been bought raw in not perfect 10 condition and then trimmed, sent in for grading, and then come back with 10s and then resold. I believe that there are finally a couple of cards within this past week, plus things that users or followers have submitted, that they were able to finally prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that they were trimming cards. The example was a Trevor Lawrence card, 2021 Contenders Trevor Lawrence auto. There's definitely some damage in the upper right-hand corner of the original card, and then the one that came back as a PSA 10, that damage mysteriously disappeared. So the thought process is that the card was trimmed up. And the signatures match exactly, so that they're feeling that this is definitive proof. For those of you that don't know what trimming is, basically it is the act of taking a precision cut and cutting the edge or top or bottom of a card to either help it match for centering or to remove any kind of small damages to corners or edges, so that the card will come back a pristine PSA 10, wherever you're sending it off for grading. So there's two things that come from this as far as the discussion goes. First and foremost is, what is people's feelings about trimming? Obviously, if the card isn't in its original condition, and then also when it's submitted to companies like PSA, the thought process is that this should be a no-brainer, easy thing that PSA can catch in order to reject it. The card, if the card is not of its original size, that should be something that pops right away. But there seems to be a lot of cards that are getting past PSA in regards to cards that are trimmed, which leads everybody to believe that there may be some sort of acceptable size, that, and it doesn't have to be exact down to some sort of 16th or 32nd of an inch or whatever it may be. So I think that if you are going to attempt to slide one past the goalie as far as a grading company for trimming, and you're doing it for PC purposes, I honestly have no issue with it. Yes, if it's for PC and you're the only one that's going to be keeping it, and you're the only one that's going to have to pay the consequences as far as whether or not it is rejected by the grading company, or whether or not it gets a worse grade or whatever the situation may be, if it's for PC and it's never going to go beyond you, I don't have any issues with trimming. You do whatever you got to do, and you do whatever you want to do for your own cards. The ethical issue that comes into play for this is when you are trying to get it graded to get a better grade and then to resell it. Obviously, as I said, the card's not in its original condition, and that's when it becomes a problem. So that you can buy a card and then resell it and make profit after you've altered it. So I think that, in this particular case, since they were able to prove it, there's actually some serious repercussions. And it also shows you the power of of card porn. For those of you that aren't really active on the hobby on Instagram, card porn is probably one of the larger hobby accounts on Instagram. They have somewhere in the neighborhood of 63,000 followers. I mean, not the biggest following, but they're pretty close. Excuse me. They're pretty close, and they are probably the top account as far as being a hobby hall monitor and looking out for fraud and looking out for bad actors in the hobby and posting all that. So they sent complaints to PSA, and then they sent complaints to eBay, and I believe they were able to get. Let me just read this post. Got some great news to report just 2 days since we announced that we'd finally nabbed one of the biggest trimmers in the history of the hobby, Kong Cards 53. PSA has deactivated the certs on the trim cards, and eBay has removed all of Kong's eBay listings. We've also spoken to the collector who purchased this card, Trim Trevor Lawrence, and they're getting that sorted out too. So, I mean, it really gives some serious power that these guys can send communications to PSA and eBay and actually get their emails read and actions taken. So that's definitely something to keep in mind as far as just the power that they have and the audience and the following and the respect that they've been given. So it's something that will be interesting to follow as they grow and as they continue to uncover these types of things that are going on in the hobby. So that's pretty much all I have to say. I think trimming is going to continue. It's been going on forever. Anytime people can try to find a way around or make things better or try to get a better grade, they're going to. So it just is what it is, and it'll be caught from time to time, but I definitely think it's still going to go on. I personally have no idea how they're doing it with such precision. I mean, you got to be really spot on accurate as far as the angle and the making that straight edge and not taking too much off, et cetera. So I mean, hats off to those who have actually figured out how to do it and can do it well. I mean, not that we're supporting unethical things, but it's definitely not an easy thing that everybody can just do. So I think it's definitely prevalent, but I don't know if it's as rampant as it's been made out to be. All right. Next thing we're going to move on to is talking a little bit about eBay and their authenticity guarantees. We bumped up against it, Bunk and I, as far as some of the cards that we buy this week. I'm gonna just jump into a card that we bought, and let me see here. So yeah, this week we bought a 2021 Topps Chrome Lewis Hamilton Grand Prix Orange Refractor. It was a $269 card, and they sent it off to the to get authenticity guarantee, and it slowed us down from getting the card by an extra like 4 or 5 days. And it doesn't seem like a lot, but it's annoying. For us, we buy cards raw, and we get them off to get graded, and then we get them back from the grading company, and then we sell them. And an extra 4 or 5 days, an extra week, it really slows our process down. And especially if you're trying to potentially get stuff quickly. For example, we bought a Tyrese Maxey card a couple weeks ago, and we needed to get it in our hands as quickly as possible so that we can try to get it graded and get it back and get it flipped, while the Sixers are still in the playoffs and looking like, they're strong and potentially going to continue to advance. This really slows it down. And, for something like a 2021 Topps Chrome card that needs to go get authenticated, especially it's a $250 card, it doesn't have an autograph on it. I mean, the likelihood that somebody's faking that is so minute that it's crazy. And, and Bunk got the card in the mail today. He said it wasn't, coming from CGC or CSG, whoever did the authentication. He said the packaging wasn't even great. The card wasn't well protected. And, so whoever sent it out originally, probably packed it well. And then we got like a plain white envelope with a, some top loader, so it wasn't very well done, and it wasn't very well taken care of. And, he felt that it wasn't very well packed. So not only did it slow us down, but it also, could have gotten damaged. And then it becomes a situation of what do we do in regards to getting made whole for something that may get damaged. And for those of you that aren't familiar with what's going on, the eBay authenticity guarantee originally started out with any sports cards that were valued at over $750, and now they've moved that down to $250. So if you purchase a card that has the blue check, when you purchase it, the seller ships your card to an authentication facility, which is performed by CGC or CSG. I think eventually PSA is going to get involved in this as well. The card is also checked against the listing details to make sure that it is the card that you paid for. And then they do their authenticity, and then they send it out, and you get a slip in the mail with it saying that the card is authentic. For vintage cards, older like 50s, 60s, 70s baseball cards or basketball cards or whatever, that kind of stuff, no problem. Completely get it. Those cards are a lot easier to fake and a lot easier to manipulate. And, that makes a lot of sense to me. But for some of this more modern stuff, it's not easy especially with some of the Chrome cards, and it's not really worth it. You're not going to be making, going through all the effort to make some of these cards. And I personally think as the buyer, I should be given the choice as far as whether or not I want it to go get authenticated. Ideally, give me the choice. Let me choose whether or not I'm going to take the risk, and let me sign my life away and have them send me the card direct versus going and getting it authenticated. And I mean, right now I'm led to believe that at some point, I believe that eBay is going to start charging for this service, and then you will be given the choice, because it says on some of these auctions that, for now it's free. So hopefully it's something that they do start charging for, so that I, as the buyer, am given the option in regards to whether or not I want to have my card authenticated. I know that there is definitely fraud that goes on, but I just think that some of the stuff that we buy, it affects us more in that it takes an extra 4 to 6 days to get to us versus the odds of it being faked. But we shall see in regards to that and what happens with it. But I think it's definitely a service that it's a waste in certain cases, and it also adds to the potential risk of it getting lost or damaged. What if somebody on the CSG CGC side drops the card, or it gets damaged in packing, unpacking, whatever it is? then it really becomes a mystery as far as who's at fault and who's going to make good on it. So I think in certain cases it does more harm than good, and buyers should definitely be given the choice and not be forced to get it done when you don't really want it or need it. All right, the rant continues here. We're going to be talking a little bit of HGA, crack and cross. We've talked about it a bunch on this podcast, and we're starting to develop a little bit of a theory. Either that or we just have really bad luck. We've cracked and crossed 6 HGA cards as of now that were all 9.5s or better. And in every case, it wasn't a situation where there were like 2 9.5s and 2 9s and it was like borderline. Everything that we've cracked and tried to send to PSA were all 9.5s, either quad 9.5s or 9.5s and 10s. And we have gotten 0 PSA 10s, literally 0. 5. So out of the 6 or 7 cards that we've submitted, all but one of those went to PSA, one went to BGS. And, in the case of BGS, it was we talked about this a few weeks ago. We bought an HGA Steph Curry, which had 3 9.5s and a 10. And we literally got the card back from Beckett, and it was a BGS 8. We thought this was going to be basically a slam dunk. The card had 3 9.5s and a 10 from HGA. The 10 was for centering. The card looked pretty spot on centering. When Bunk reviewed it under scope, came back BGS 9. Corners and edges, both 9.5s. Both of those came back BGS 8s. And then the other cards that we had were all BGS 9.5s that we submitted to PSA. One of them was a Tyrese Maxey. We actually did a video on that, on how to crack an HGA sub, which is on YouTube. That card looks spot on perfect, under microscope, all that, came back PSA 9. One was an Anthony Edwards Chrome Auto that also came back PSA 9. We had a Rafael Devers card that was 2 9.5s and 2 10s from HGA, which came back PSA 9. And some of these cards, naked eye and under microscope, at least in Bunk's opinion, have been flawless, and we've gotten 9s. So, we're starting to develop a theory, I guess, that, it's either bad luck on our part and we're getting really, really strict PSA graders, or, somehow, some way, HGA is potentially overgrading, or giving grades higher than, what is actually on the card. Because we just don't know. Because we've also heard from other people that we know in the hobby that'll take HGA 9.5s that are 2 9s and 2 9.5s, and they'll submit them to PSA and they get 10s. So it goes to show you that it's so arbitrary as far as who's the person on the other end, and you get lucky. So it really is, as the prices of PSA come back down, you can resubmit stuff and try to get it in and get something better. But we have had terrible luck cracking and trying to cross PSA, cross HGAs to PSA and BGS. So it's something we're going to be more hesitant about. I really wanted to, share that with everybody so that we can, tell you guys as far as, what's been going on with that, as far as that goes, and give you the update on the Steph. We took an absolute bath on that Steph card, basically because, we paid $17.50 for it, which was an HGA 9.5, 2 9.5s, 3 9.5s and a 10. And that price was equivalent to roughly a PSA 9, and, getting a BGS 8, between that and the grading fees, it definitely was a kick in the nuts for us. So it just goes to show you that, you never know. And it literally is a coin flip, that you can look at something and think it's perfect, and it's a slam dunk guarantee, easy win. We were already counting our money, because BGS 9.5s were selling from 3,500 all the way up to $5,000, and we're gonna wind up taking $1,000 loss on it. So it was tough. But we gotta share the wins and the losses, and talk about all of it, and try to keep you guys informed as far as what our experiences are, and what we've been going through with that. So we're gonna keep doing what we're doing. We got another 6 or 8 cards that are going out to PSA. Most of those were purchased raw on eBay, and we'll see what comes back. And we're not getting 10s. I'm gonna have to, potentially fire my grader, my evaluator being Bunk, and find somebody else that could do a better job of evaluating the cards before we send them off to PSA. All right, and then lastly, we are going to jump into a couple of cards or players that I want to look at in regards to investment purposes for this week. One baseball and one football. Going to be talking a little Pete Alonso to start here. Big fan of Alonso. He's definitely off to a hot start. We're going to be looking at his 2019 Topps Chrome, and then some of those variations. Just give me 1 sec. I'm just bringing everything up here. All right, so we're going to look at 2019 Topps Chrome Refractor and a 2019 Topps Chrome X-Fractor. The Topps Chrome Refractor pop is 1,017. Last sale was $80. This is PSA 10. And then the X-Fractor last sale was $165. Pops on this is $237. So definitely affordable. These cards have been relatively flat, over the last year. So, I think it's a situation where you have minimal downside risk in this particular case. And, Mets are in first place, dominating the East right now. Alonso off to a hot start. He's got 5 home runs, 20 plus RBIs, hit 270. And, so if he can get it together and have another, potential 30 plus home run season, and the Mets go deep into the playoffs, I mean, he plays in a major market. He won Rookie of the Year a couple of years ago, got slowed down by the shortened season, and didn't, play tremendous last year. But, I think there's still appetite for him because he hit 50 home runs, and, people can, want to buy in on Alonso just because they saw the potential from a couple of years ago. So I think he's somebody that you can get a lot of his stuff really cheap. The stuff that I would look at would be that, Topps 2019 Topps Chrome, just because it's affordable. You might as well get some of the refractors, PSA 10s. You can buy that stuff and for less than $100 on the refractor, and then the X-Fractor, it's $165. And if that's beyond your price point, if you start looking at the PSA 9s, I mean, those are both going to be under $50. So it's in my opinion definitely worth a shot. And playing on that good Mets team, he has support for the first time in a while, and we'll see if he can reproduce the magic from his rookie season. But chicks dig the long ball, and if he can put 30 home runs on the board this year in New York, should make for potential increases in value on his cards. Next guy I want to look at is Davis Mills. A little football. Davis Mills is the quarterback for the Houston Texans. There was some speculation in regards to whether or not Houston was going to take a quarterback. They had the 3rd pick in the draft. They did not, and that basically gave the nod that Mills is going to play this year. His stats were actually not bad last year, even though the Texans' offense is horrendous. If you look at his numbers, let me just pull that up real quick. If you look at his numbers from last year, it's his rookie season. Where are we? He started 11 games, threw for 2,664 yards. But if you look at the breakdown, like the game logs, if I can get this thing to cooperate. Where are we? Come on. There we go. Got it. And you look at some of his individual performances. He had 4 games that he threw for more than 300 yards. He had 5 games that he threw for 2 or more touchdowns. So given that he has 1 season under his belt, Texans drafted wide receiver out of Alabama to go along with Cooks, and they have a couple other guys that are okay. So he may have a chance to put up some numbers this year, even though the team is terrible. So I would definitely not sleep on Davis Mills. You do have some 2021 product coming out in regards to Prism. So, that may be something where you can grab some of his, grab a Texan spot in the breaks and, maybe for cheap and pick up some of his cards. Some of his more rare cards are, definitely going for big dollars. If you look at some of his low numbered or like Honeycomb and Genesis Mosaic cards, I mean, some of those cards are selling for huge money. But I would look at, some of his stuff, A, trying to pick up the Texans and breaks for cheap, or B, if you look at some of his autos, they're less than $100. I'm scrolling through 130 right now for those of you that are listening. So like his Panini one dual rookie patch auto went for $255. He had a Panini black out of 99 2-color patch auto go for $120. Origins out of 49 3-color patch auto go for $115. Another Origins go for less than 100. So there's definitely patch autos out there that you can get for reasonable prices on Davis Mills. So it would be something that I would look at soon before football gets going. But since the Texans did not draft a quarterback, it's definitely his team, at least for this year. So I think it's a sleeper for some of his stuff, and or getting into breaks for some of the product that's coming out for 2021. I think people sleep on the Texans, and a lot of times won't pay for them because obviously there's nobody other than Mills that you're hoping to get out of those breaks. So I would, if you can grab spots in breaks for cheap, guys will get overshadowed. You'll have expensive spots for the Jets, the Niners, the Bears, and the Jaguars. So if you can get Texan spots for nothing, I would definitely look at that, or trying to grab a couple of his patch autos for cheap, or see where his Prism stuff comes out at, his silver or, auto stuff when the Prism product drops, because those could definitely pick up some nice value as we head into the season. Texans are going to be losing every game. Mills will be throwing a lot. So he has the opportunity to rack up stats. All right, we have made it through 30 minutes here. I got a couple of other things, just podcast business wise, that I just I should have covered at the beginning, but I didn't. So just a couple of quick notes for those of you that were anticipating hearing the Nat Turner interview this week. Unfortunately, Nat canceled on us at the last minute. I would imagine there was a scheduling conflict that came up. We are working on trying to reschedule and get him back. As soon as we do, we will let you guys know. My apologies. Also, if there are guests or other people in the hobby that you want to hear interviewed on the podcast, please send us an email, info@sportscardadvantage.com. If you have suggestions, ideally we want to potentially get somebody on to talk soccer, to talk F1. Those are two sports that Bunk and I are not all that strong, to be honest. So, we'd love to hear your suggestions on who to bring on for soccer F1. We are still running the contest, simple contest. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Take a screenshot, email it to info@sportscardadvantage.com. We'll probably run this for throughout the rest of May, and then after that we will announce a winner. The prize is going to be one of three things you get to choose from. Either a VIP badge to National in July in Atlantic City. If you're not going to be there or you don't want it, you can also choose from a $200 slab or a $200 break credit to the breaker of your choice. Happy to provide that to you as well. So if you are a fan of the podcast, and go to Apple, go to Spotify, leave us a review, take a screenshot, send it to info@sportscardadvantage.com. I think that's it. Hopefully you guys weren't it wasn't too painful listening to me by myself, rolling solo. Bunk will be back with us next week, so for all you Bunk fans, feel free to hop on Twitter and give him some shit for abandoning the pod for his wife. And for all of you ladies out there, I don't think there's that many, but for all of you ladies out there that are mothers, happy Mother's Day to you. Hopefully you have a great day tomorrow. And that's it. We'll see you guys next week for the next episode, and have a great week.